Good morning, everybody. Shefa Brucha V'Atzlucha. Today we have Asar B'Tevet. It's a fast day, and this is something that happened around 2,500 years ago. And always the question when you're coming one of those fasts is, why? Why should we fast? What is the reason that today we fast for something that happened so many years ago? And one of the answers is that what happened there then is also happening now. In other words, it's not something that happened 2,500 years ago and then we can forget about it and go on with our normal life. Today I read a very interesting thing in the Ten Chelkenu, which I gave a small shiur today. But this is when Nebuchadnezzar started to the Matzor on Yerushalayim, and really it's a very simple fast act. It's an easy one, but if we think about it right, it's the most important one because now it started. And if we would have done tshuva, the temple would not have been destroyed. And this is exactly a point that in those days, all those fast days, we have to stop a minute and think about what happened those years ago and what should we do today in order to prevent something happening again. Or even better, what should we do today? So we have the Mashiach coming and we have the temple coming from heaven, and we have the third temple here. So there is a whole discussion in the Gemara about something that's called Oker Harim and Sinai. Oker Harim, like he takes the mountain and he takes it away, and Sinai is Sinai. So it says that in order to explain it in a very simple way, Sinai is he knows the whole Torah that was given to us from Sinai, from the Mount of Sinai. But he knows it like he knows what's written there. Oker Harim, he took the mountain, that he takes the Torah and digs inside and really learns a lot of things out of it. And this discussion is what is better or what is first, Oker Harim or Sinai. The idea is very simple. The one who is digging in, he knows here and there, but he doesn't know the whole Torah, because to know the whole Torah, you cannot dig in and dig in and dig in. You have to learn the whole Torah. And the one who's got the whole Torah is not somebody who is digging into things, and he's like, he knows what it's all about, but he's not really, let's say, going deep into the things to understand it more. And the result of this discussion is that first of all, you have to be Sinai. In other words, first of all, you need the knowledge. Because if you haven't got the knowledge, what does it help that you can dig into things and learn it properly and go to those all ideas, and if you don't know the start of it? And if you think about it, that is in life. If you have a car, but you don't know how to drive, what do you need a car for? First of all, you have to learn how to drive. Then you take a car. And this is exactly what we're talking here about. First of all, we have to understand, what is this fast all about? Why did it happen? And then when we have the knowledge, now we can fix it. And now we can do the things that are going to, let's say, prevent bad things happening to us, and even, as we say, bring the Geulah, b'mehera b'yameinu amen. And this is in our parsha when Yaakov Avinu, he's calling his sons. I want to tell you what's going to happen in the end of days. And then we don't see anything about it. It's like he's talking and blessing his children, blessing his sons, the 12 tribes, and really some of them don't even look like blessing, which is another question. But where did he discover what's going to happen in the end of days? We don't see anything about it. So Rashi says he wanted to talk about when it's going to happen, but God didn't let him to. Because there is also here a discussion in the Gemara, if you're allowed to do those calculations when the Geulah is going to come. And you shouldn't deal with it. But we all know that some of our wise people, our sages, they did those calculations and said at that time, the other time, and sometimes even people then were waiting for something to happen, didn't happen, and they even left our religion. So this is why you shouldn't start to go into it. But why did they do all those calculations? Because there are two things. Is be'ita achishena. the Geulah can come in two ways. One way is at the right time, when God wants it to happen. This is something we are not allowed to discuss, we're not allowed to calculate, because this only God knows. But there is Achishena. Achishena is we can bring the Geulah before the time. This we have, let's say, spots in the time that then, if we do the right thing, we can bring the Geulah before the time. And this is the calculation that you are allowed to do, but as we said, also this is something that we shouldn't go into it. And this is really what Yaakov maybe wanted to say. And the Zohar Kadosh writes down and says, if the Torah says that Yaakov Avinu wanted to tell us the end of days, when it's going to happen, so, and the Torah doesn't say he didn't tell us what's going to happen in the end of days, so he said. So what did he say? We didn't see anything. And then it says, it's very interesting, in Hebrew is asfu, as asfu is to gather together. Agida lachem is aguda. Aguda is like the lulav in the etrog. You have to hold them together, aguda achat, together. In other words, he's telling them, if you want the end to come, you should all be together. And then, what does this have to do with the blessing? The blessing is exactly the idea. The blessing are there in order to teach, and this is the blessing, because Shimon and Levi, kli chamas mechorotehem, it's not, doesn't look like a blessing. So where is the blessing there? So he said the blessing is in the fact that he gives each one of the sons the tools to know what are his abilities, what are his, let's say, values, what is he good in, what should he look for. And those tools are very important for each one of us to understand and realize, what is my job in life? What should I do? What shouldn't I do? And that is what he really told his children, his sons, the 12 tribes. He gave each one of them his personal abilities and things, virtues that he can work on and he should work on. So when you know this, now what should you do? It says, now when you know your job and you know what are your abilities, your talent, the way you are, let's say the things you got from God, you take those tools and you do your own part in, and that's the important part, together with everybody. You don't work for yourself, you don't take your tools and you build yourself. Okay, I'm now going to be a good man, I'm going to do this, I'm going to be very successful. No, that's not the idea. You are going to use your talent, your potential to help everybody to be together. And this is as for Vagida Lachem. So Yaakov is telling his sons, each one of you has got a certain talent, a certain virtue, a certain thing that you can work on. And you take those talents and you work on them together. And when you do this together and not each one for himself, then the end of times will come. And this is one of the lessons that we have to learn today in Asara B'Tevet, that when we look around and we see what's happening around us, and we think about stopping and start doing calculation, what are we doing today? What happened then 2,400 years ago? And why did it happen? And what can we do today in order to fix it and make things better? So what we should do today is come together, each one of us, use his own tools to help the society, to help each other to build the third temple that will come round. B'mera b'yameinu. Amen. Hopefully, I hope that we learned a little about today, and of course there is a lot more to say and talk about this beautiful parsha that we are talking about, but one of the basic thing is that is also connected to Vayechi Yaakov be'eretz Mitzrayim 17 shana. Yaakov was living in Egypt for 17 years. Why is the Torah talking about this specially? What did he do in those 17 years? And it says that Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi is the one who took all the Gemara, all the oral Torah, and put it in writing, the Mishnah, Shasidrei Mishnah. And he said on himself, I lived in Sipporis 17 years like Yaakov lived 17 years in Egypt. What is the connection? The connection is that in those 17 years, Yaakov Avinu prepared Am Israel to to the Galut in Mitzrayim, to go through the procedure that they went through in Egypt, which was an unbelievable hard procedure, hard terms. And he gave them the tools in those 17 years to go through it. And this is what Rabbi Yehuda Nasi did. He saw that the oral Torah is going to vanish. There were only few that knew about it, that knew it. So he thought that the only way that Am Yisrael will go through this long galut that we are in it now, this exile that is not ended yet, is to give them the power of the oral Torah, and he write it down and organized it in order for us, in those 17 years, that's what he did, in order for us to have this power that is really saved our life and is going to lead us to the Geulah Shlema B'Merav Yameinu Amen. So here we see this connection between thinking about what happened 2,500 years ago with the temple, the starting of the destruction of the temple. What can we do in order to prevent it is to take our own tools. Each one of us got his individual tools and take them together and go with the Torah and prepare ourselves to do the best that we can, not for us, for everybody, for all Am Yisrael. And then the Geulah Hashlema will come. Amen. All the best.